Talking Allergies is a podcast focused on raising allergy awareness, sharing allergy stories, increasing allergy health and well-being, connecting the Australian allergy community with those that support them, and more. In each episode, we look at different aspects of living with allergies, with special guests joining us to talk about all things allergies.
Hi Nick, and welcome to the Talking Allergies podcast.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for being with me today. Could you talk a little bit about your allergies and your experience with allergies?
Well, ever since I can remember, I've grown up with allergies. So my parents told me that I was diagnosed with allergy to peanuts around the ages of like 2 or 3. So I've been pretty much living with that my whole life. And then I've had, well, not necessarily an allergy, but it's asthma, but that in turn leads me to have those allergies related to like environmental things. So like pollens, dust, flowers, trees, some types of pets. So yeah, I've had both of those in my life ever since I can really remember. I've had no issues really managing them. I mean, apart from a few years ago when I tried changing medication for my inhaler, that didn't really work out as planned, but sometimes you have to try things to see if they work better. But yeah.
So you talked a little bit about your environmental allergies and your asthma reactions.
Yeah.
What are your overall allergies and types of reactions that you do have?
So if we're gonna start with the asthma, it's pretty simple. It's just like airways get tight, and then sinuses start to get congested, maybe runny nose, sneezing, that kind of stuff. It's really prominent in the like changing seasons. So like the springs and the autumns, those are like usually the worst times. And then, yeah, I usually just try and keep on top of my medication. And then if I have to use like antihistamines just to like make sure that I'm not like overly inflamed, especially the airways, because then it makes it hard to sleep and that kind of stuff. For my peanut allergy, it's a little more unpredictable, and I'm still not quite sure exactly what happens because it's been like so random, the types of feelings that I get. I've been told by like multiple allergists that it is anaphylactic, but like I've never actually gone into true anaphylaxis where I needed to use my EpiPen, go to the hospital, and so forth. It's mainly just this like unbearable feeling that I get inside of like my stomach and then like through up into my esophagus area, where it just feels like somebody's like twisting it and like turning it, and it just hurts so much. But there's one thing that I noticed with the peanut allergy, or the nuts that I'm allergic to, which is like pine nuts, pecans, and walnuts as well, that as soon as I have them, my lips start to tingle instantly.
That's a really descriptive way of describing the feeling internally and externally on the lips.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like I was in Mexico one time with my family, and it was like the first night we were there. So we were all like, yeah, let's go out for food, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'll get this. It said picante or something like that. And I thought that was just like spicy. And I was like, yeah, I'll get that. Turns out, no, it's ground up peanuts in the sauce. And I ate the whole dish. And it was like after the first bite, I was like, oh, this is a weird spice because my lip was tingling. And then I was like, actually, that's not supposed to happen. And then the rest of the night was a write-off. And it was just, yeah, that unbearable feeling inside of just like being pulled and twisted and pulled apart. And yeah, very interesting stuff.
So you learnt that you had allergies really early on in your life. Has your allergies changed or adapted as you've gotten older?
No, they've been very consistent, I would say. I mean, there was a period of time where we suspected that I was allergic to shellfish, but since I had like a recent allergy test like about a year and a half or so ago, they've confirmed that I am not allergic to shellfish and seafood. So I've gotten back into eating things like shrimps and prawns and whatnot, but it's relatively consistent with those 4 or 5 nuts, and then just the environmental pollens and dusts of such. Um, but it takes a lot to actually like figure out what those are, and it's honestly a very worthwhile process to go through if you suspect you have allergies or you might be allergic to something, because getting that clarification can be as simple as just getting some blood work done, where they can actually like see whether there's certain things in there. And I was like, that is revolutionary. That is so cool. I was like, I didn't have to get like poked with a needle or anything. Like, I will sign up for that happily.
Other than the one to get the blood, but yes.
Yeah. But you know when they like poke you with like a bunch of like the little samples on your arm, and then your arm is just like really swollen for the next day, and you're like wanting to scratch it, and they're like, don't scratch it, and you're like, but it's so itchy.
Yeah, skin prick tests.
Yeah, just horrible. So yeah, I did really enjoy the learning about what I'm actually allergic to. Super cool.
So learning that you did grow out a shellfish allergy,
Yeah.
when did you start introducing it back into your daily or your diet?
Honestly, like right away. I think me and my partner went to a sushi restaurant and I ordered some tempura prawns because I was like, I have to try it. I got to. I was like, it's been so long of just me being scared to try it, and being like, oh, I can't. Oh, does that have shellfish in it? Oh, I can't eat that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going. And worst case scenario, we have to go to the urgent clinic and deal with this. But the doctor said I'm fine, so let's give it a go.
Did you enjoy it, or were you a little bit nervous?
There was a lot of hesitancy at first. I was like, I don't know. And, she was like, just do it. They said you're fine. Just trust them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then ever since then, it's just been like enjoying some of those, moments of being like, wow, okay, I don't have to be as, mindful of exactly what I'm eating, especially in like big groups with friends and things like that.
And to learn that you grew out of it, that you were allergic and then had the testing done and went, actually, I'm no longer allergic to it. That's really good.
I don't know. I couldn't tell if I was actually allergic to it because I just avoided it for so long, or whether it was genuinely just like a bad batch of seafood that I had like once or twice. So it's honestly hard to say if it truly was an allergy or not, but the whole moral of that is just like get the tests done and just figure out what it is you're allergic to, and you can make the decisions for the dietary things that you want to eat. And it's just so much easier to then know for sure, avoid this, eat this.
100%. Going to the allergist and getting it all checked out and knowing what you can and can't eat is really important. Were there any memorable allergic reactions that you have had?
I mean, memorable in a good sense or memorable in like a not so good sense?
Either one that you would like to share.
I mean, it's hard to say. I feel like some of the earlier encounters with peanuts are very memorable just because my body just went crazy and it just didn't know what to do with it. It was just like this uncontrolled, constant throwing up for a few hours for what it seemed like. And when you're like, 5, 6 years old, you have no idea what's going on. And you want to cry and you're frustrated and you don't know why you're frustrated. You don't know why this is happening, how you can stop it, and all this kind of stuff. So I feel like those are some not bad memories, but they're just those memories that are like, okay, these things are serious and you do need to be mindful of the repercussions of accidentally having them because they can suck. And it might not be something that you want to have happen, but it can happen, like family vacation. Again, it's kind of a common trend that we seem to have here. We were away and they hadn't listed that there was pesto in one of the dishes, and pesto, pine nuts, one of the main ingredients for that extra bit of flavor. And lo and behold, I get that same tingling feeling on my lips, and next thing you know, I'm out for the rest of the day. And it's hard because it really does set you back, and it messes with everything, your emotions, your physical health, and then it just kind of ruins the day. But yeah, that's my main memorable one with that allergy for sure.
It's such a hard one because if it's in something, you don't necessarily know what the ingredient is made of, and then you've
Yeah.
consumed it and you're on holidays. It's really quite difficult.
Yes, for sure. And I feel like that's one of the hard things. I feel like nowadays the labels on things are far better than what they used to be for like letting us know like where things are made and what's in them, and it was made in a factory, wasn't made in a factory, that kind of stuff. Because as a kid, like some of the labels that I would see, it just had like peanuts just in very small writing, and it was like, okay, that's dangerous game you're playing there, because it's not even in any kind of bolded writing or anything like that. So I'm glad to see that we are progressing in that way, because it makes it easier for people like us to have the opportunity to make the safe choices.
With your reactions, is there anything that you have learned from those reactions that you've implemented since?
Yeah, okay. I think for me, and like even my partner like will jump in when I forget to, it's like every restaurant we go to, it's always, hey, I've got a peanut allergy. And we always go severe peanut allergy, and it's all nuts. We don't even bother like saying which ones specifically it is that I'm allergic to. We just go all nuts, just so that they know, and we've made that kind of like verbal connection of like, okay, you've addressed it, I've addressed it. Okay, this should be common knowledge now that, you need to be careful with potential cross-contamination. I would say for like my asthma is keeping on top of just like a good routine. Because like that's one of those allergies, especially like environmental ones, where consistency is the cure. Where it's like, for me, which works best is using my inhaler once in the morning and once at night, and then taking an antihistamine in case I get a random flare up. But it's like jumping on that right away and keeping that like pattern consistent, and I find I have no troubles. Because when I was younger, I found that I was like inconsistent with it. I was just like, oh, I'll use it whenever, or I'll only use it once a day, or oh, I don't need an antihistamine, or whatever I might have thought. You're young, you think you know better, but then you realize maybe you should probably listen to the adults.
Having it managed is so important, making sure that you know what you're taking and how it's working in the body.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's understanding the medication too, with allergies, and their like, action plan that happens inside of you. That is crucial, like key signs and symptoms of asthma flare up. Okay, what's the best thing that I need? Ventolin, that gets the inflammation down right away, and then you can look at getting your steroid. I can't remember the other one, because I use just a 2-in-1 Symbicort type thing. So yeah, it is important. Knowing the medication and why you have to take it is huge.
Especially when it's an everyday thing and you go, oh, I can't really be bothered today, but you go, actually, it's like important for me.
Yeah, like if I don't, I'm gonna have a really rough day.
Going back to your partner advocating with you, do you
Yeah.
feel some relief where they're also helping ask about your allergies?
Yeah, I'm really grateful that she's so proactive with it, because it's like, okay, I know that like there's somebody else out there who's got my back at the same time, because like we can make mistakes and we can forget to mention these things, and that might be the one time that something does happen. But it kind of gives me that little bit of like safety, that security blanket, to kind of make sure that we are there and we're going to be safe. So I really do appreciate it as a whole, for sure.
Particularly when asking when you're going out to a venue and having a backup is really nice.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And like she even like, say we're going on trips and things like that, always double checks with me. You got your EpiPen, you got your inhaler. I'm like, yep. And you got your antihistamines. I'm like, yep. I'm like, got it. Okay, let's go.
Do you also check with her if you're having a reaction going, oh, this is what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let her know. I'll be like, hey, something in this area is kind of messing with my asthma, but I feel like it's taken me, unfortunately, a few years to actually be okay with being like, okay, I'm reacting to the environment. Something is not right, rather than just kind of like downplaying it. Because I feel like for the longest time, I'd be like, oh, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's fine, it's nothing. But like this past couple of weeks, we were in Tasmania and we stayed in like a little like camping shed Airbnb thing, and it was super dusty, and like right away I was wheezy, super congested, and I was like, I'm gonna go proactive. I'm going right for the antihistamine, getting the Ventolin out. Like I'm not waiting around. And I even told my partner, I was like, look, like this place is super dusty and it's really messing with me right now. And to be able to do that, I feel like gives me that little bit of relief now. And I feel like moving forward, that's something that I'm going to try to be better with, just because I feel like it helps to create a little more peace within myself, but also like keeps her in the loop.
It's a great thing to have that understanding of, oh, I'm going through something, maybe I should bring it up.
Yeah, for sure. Even like, I think it's just hard because like, we always feel like we're so busy in, our lives, and we don't want to feel like we're burdening other people. But, at the end of the day, it's our health, and, we should be okay with advocating that, hey, look, like we need to speak up about when something's not feeling right, because then we can actually do the things necessary to address that.
And having someone there that encourages it as well is really nice.
Oh, 100%. Could not be any more true.
Do you carry your medication with you?
Yes, all the time. So I have like my little belt bag. I need to replace one of the empty things of antihistamines, but it's usually antihistamine, Ventolin, Symbicort, EpiPen, those four. And then obviously other things, but it's mainly those four things. So I'm always prepared if, I'm feeling like the environment is going to be giving me more consistent input that might lead to just longer reactions. Then I got like the inhalers for like potential like just momentary induced inflammation, whether that's from like exercise or just someone was wearing a perfume that didn't agree with me and it passed by and caused an irritation or whatever it may be. And then just the EpiPen for last resort if we encounter any peanut.
So it's like a belt that clips on.
I don't actually wear it. I just like, it's all in this little bag and I just like throw it in my backpack and then I go,
Right.
Or like, I'll just like wear it around my shoulder and I've got like my wallet and stuff in there, but it's pretty much, yeah, just like my little medical kit.
That's great that you carry it with you. It's
Yeah.
really important. So as an adult with your allergies, do you introduce your allergies in other places other than restaurants?
I only feel like I have to if it's like any kind of medical thing. Other than that, I don't really feel inclined to just be like openly talking about it all the time. Because I feel like it just sometimes can end up being a lot to talk about. Because then some questions might to sensitive topics, things like that. But I mainly just, it's the food stuff that really is the main stressor. So that's where I feel like I need to actually speak about it.
Yeah, of course. Do you have your allergens in your house or do you not have them in your house?
Well, we've done a really good job of like, finding the things that do work for me and the things that don't work for me. When I lived with my parents, obviously, because I'm not living with them anymore, it was, they kept peanut butter in the house. I wasn't too stressed about it. They would have like candy bars with like peanuts in them. They'd have like other things that had those allergens in them. And they would always like, if they brought it home, they would like look at me and they'd be like, listen, this has nuts in it. You can't eat this. Got it? And I'd be like, sounds good. Because then they'd know that I would just want to know what it is, and I'd probably want to try and eat it because, who doesn't like snacks? But it was just like one of those things that we all like made that agreement of like, hey, just like let Nick know that there's something he can't have in the house.
That's really good that they brought it home and had a conversation with you instead of you just seeing some nice snacks and just eating them.
Yeah, because the last thing is, you want to go try a little pretzel, and then next thing you know, it's a peanut butter filled pretzel, and then next thing you know, it's on the floor.
Is there anything that you have done that you wouldn't expect that you could have done while living with allergies?
Well, to this day, I never thought I'd be able to eat cashews, pistachios, and hazelnuts and almonds, because this is where the weird confusion of my allergy is. The allergist explained to me that they're all a part of like a similar like species of plant of some kind, and the other ones are just separate. But yeah, I never thought I'd be able to enjoy Nutella with a peanut butter allergy. I never thought I'd be able to enjoy cashew butter, which is like very similar to like peanut butter, but it tastes better apparently, and I can't be the judge of that, obviously. Yeah, those are like the main things. It was very, very striking when I was just like, oh, I can eat pistachios. This is fascinating.
That's fair. If you
Yeah.
believe that you live with a tree nut and peanut allergy and then some of them are removed from the reintroduced to the diet, that would be really interesting.
It really was. And like, it was hard for me at first because I had lived 20 plus years of my life in fear of these things. Like, they are potentially going to kill me. And now this doctor is telling me, you don't need to worry, you can eat them. And I'm like, oh, is this a game? But no, it was good because it was like one of those things where, it seems like such a small achievement, small thing, but it meant so much to just like expand the diet that little bit.
So if there were other adults that haven't been tested for their allergies since they were a kid, would you recommend them going back to their allergist?
Why not? What's the harm? I like, at the end of the day, they're just gonna say either it's the same, it's different, but what if there was something new? You got to look at it like that too, because if something new did come up, then hey, now you're aware of that and you can be prepared for if something was to say come down the pipeline that way, and you can expand to that to other things like scents, like oils, whatever, like essential oils. They all have different like origins of where they come from, and certain ones can have certain reactions with certain people. And maybe you didn't used to be allergic to lilies, but now you are, and somebody comes and gives you a beautiful bouquet and there's lilies in it, and next thing you know, you're like, why can't I breathe through my nose, or why are my eyes watering, or why am I feeling so weird? And then you just brush it off and it just keeps happening. And it's not good for your body to be constantly under stress like that. So being able to keep yourself in that like homeostasis is good, because then you know that you can function your day to day and actually enjoy the things you want to enjoy, and not be hesitant or scared to want to do the things or try new things and that kind of stuff.
That's a great point, that you can develop new allergies and that you may not be allergic to other things. So it's a good thing to keep track of.
Yeah, and like even my mom, like she had asthma, and then it like faded and then it came back, but she went to the allergist, and she's had multiple things, rechecked and all that, just because things change as we go, and it's better to be safe than sorry. It's kind of like, doing an annual checkup at your GP. It's just consider it like a checkup.
If there's someone listening at the moment that either has allergies or is a parent of someone with allergies, is there anything that you would like to say to them?
I think the biggest thing is it will be okay. And, at the end of the day, you'll find ways to work around these kind of challenges. And you should see them as lessons to learn from and, use that as an opportunity to maybe pass on some knowledge that you learned and maybe share it with someone else, because I feel like we can all have a really good insight and opportunity to share things that are either meaningful to us or maybe potentially meaningful to others as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Nick, for sharing about your allergy journey and for giving some helpful tips to others as well.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, and it was a blast.
The discussions on Talking Allergies are here to support you or your loved one on your journey with allergies. The topics discussed here are not intended as medical instruction or as a substitute for advice by a qualified healthcare provider.